I think this is the last tradition I'm going to cover. It's called Thelema, one of my favorite occult traditions. Thelema is a system of magical practices and tenets developed by the 20th century, quote, gray magician, Aleister Crowley. And everybody's going to say, oh, Mark, you're promoting Crowley again. You know, he was such a bad guy. You know, why are you putting people onto his work? Why are you talking about him like he was somebody to look up to? I'm telling you out in the open, gray magician. Somebody who knew the path and didn't necessarily walk it, who used what he knew for negative influence over other people to control. Although he also put out a lot of great spiritual works which were out there to illuminate and enlighten people. So he's an enigma. You know, he's a puzzle, Crowley. Here's the example I always tell people when dealing with Crowley's work. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay, if you're talking about Crowley, do as he said, not as he did. You know, he didn't necessarily walk the path in his life. The main precept of the occult tradition of Thelema is, quote, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. This precept is far too often completely misunderstood and completely taken out of context. Used properly, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law refers to the Thelemic concept of the true will. It's a central focus of the whole occult system, the true will. The true will represents a human being's true purpose and path in life, which exists in, I'm sorry, I have a mistake there. It should say exists in harmony with the will of the universe. So that's what the true will really is about. It's not about what I want. It doesn't mean do whatever you want. That's how people who have absolutely no understanding of Thelema or Crowley's intent or writings try to say it means. It absolutely doesn't mean that at all, never did. Crowley never interpreted it like that, never told one living human being that that's what it meant. It's called people who are completely profane when it comes to these teachings and haven't looked into it an iota for themselves, want to make up what they think it means. Okay? Used properly, it refers to the Thelemic concept of the true will, a human being's true purpose and path in life, and that is what we begin to do when we learn to listen to the voice of the higher self and when we learn to listen to natural law's teachings. For those called to the path of Thelema, the true will refers to the great work of truth, love, and freedom. Do what thou wilt does not mean to do whatever you want. To do the true will is the apotheosis of freedom. It means you are putting freedom up on such a pedestal, you are elevating it to the level of divinity. It is the will of the Creator. Freedom is the will of the Creator of the universe. And that's what Thelema is teaching. But the true will is also the strictest possible bond. As Crowley said, do thy will and no other shall say nay. Not my will be done, thy will be done. The will of creation be done. Let nothing deflect you from that austere and holy task. True freedom is absolutely to do thy will. Seek to do anything else whatsoever, and instantly obstacles will arise. Every act that is not in harmony with the true will is erratic and acts as a hindrance in one's life and creates chaos, not only in one's life, but in society in general. The Thelemic principle of do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law must remain in context with the statement which follows it. Love is the law. Love is the law. Love under will, which means love must be the foundation of the will. True care must underlie and support our actions. This means that any act of human will must be performed with love or higher consciousness as its foundation, or the result. The resultant product will ultimately be chaotic. Only action based upon love and therefore in harmony with morality and natural law could ever produce order, either in our personal lives or in society as a whole. This symbol, by the way, is known as the universal hexagram of Thelema, the unicursal hexagram of Thelema, excuse me. Unicursal means it is written in one stroke without taking the pen off the page, without taking the pencil off the paper. Okay? It is the joining of the chalice and blade without them overlapping each other and being separate from each other, like one being like there and then the other being there, over top of each other. It is a combining of them in one fluid motion that is like an eternal loop that keeps looping back upon itself in a state of synthesis. And then the 5-petaled rose representing again the 5 elements in nature, including the spirit. Crowley referred to magic, which he spelled with a K, as, quote, the science and art of influencing change to occur in accordance with the true will. Okay? Now notice that that is different than what I call sorcery. Okay? You're aligning yourself with the will of creation. This clearly distinguishes true magic, or what Crowley referred to as magic with a K, from sorcery, which is, quote, the science and art of influencing change to occur in accordance with the ego-driven will, lowercase w will, of the practitioner. They're two totally different things. Okay? Influencing something to align to creation's will is entirely different than influencing someone or something to align to my own personal selfish will. Crowley also postulated a notion which he called the holy guardian angel, which referred to a deep connection to the higher self, a connection that would guide the Thelemite initiate toward the true will. In order for the holy guardian angel to manifest in our lives, we must learn to listen to its wisdom by quieting the voice of the ego, the force which is at work when we refuse to admit when we have been wrong, the force which ever seeks to take us off the path of wisdom. And that is why Thelema engaged, the tradition of Thelema engages in different meditative practices and in different consciousness alteration techniques in order to quiet the egoic mindset, the voice that is constantly chattering saying, I want, I want, I want, I want. Or, I'm not wrong about that, I'm not wrong about that, I'm not wrong about that. You know, that's the ego, really. That's the force that doesn't allow us to see that what we're doing is wrong when we're doing something that's wrong. And it's the force that just keeps saying, I want this, I want that, and forget about all this other stuff over here about truly becoming a better person and helping other people to become better people. You know, we don't have time for that. I have too many things I want. The central text of Thelema is known as Liber al vel legis. Liber means book, al means related to or of, and legis, vel legis means of the law. So the book of the law, more commonly referred to, the book of the law. Crowley claimed that this book was dictated to him through channeled writing, or what is called automatic writing, by a higher spiritual consciousness which he referred to as I was. So he claimed that this was not his own writing, but it was in fact channeled from some type of an entity. Through the reception of this book, Crowley proclaimed the arrival of a new stage in the spiritual evolution of humanity, which he called the Aeon of Horus, the age when humanity would finally begin to align itself with natural law and the will of creation. Again, the aeon of the rising sun, of the birth of real knowledge, the de-occulting of occult wisdom, and the knowledge of the occult coming online to humanity in the form of common sense, shared wisdom. I don't know how far we've come into the age of the Aeon of Horus. You know, there was kind of an occult renaissance going on during that time, and then it kind of got buried again, and you know, we went into all kinds of wars, and then the technological age came in with the advent of television. You know, and people, you know, got lost in childish sports and, you know, idle distractions. So I'll wrap up with a quote from Crowley. The absolute rule of the state shall be a function of the absolute liberty of each individual will. There it is. You know, natural law understood. in the aggregate is going to create freedom. Natural law and the true will not done in the aggregate is going to equate to the absolute rule of the state, human slavery. Brilliant in his understanding, not so brilliant in the way he conducted his life, particularly in his later years. If humanity cannot raise their consciousness to a high enough level of awareness during the recurrence of such wave cycles, they may then experience setbacks in their evolutionary progression in the form of semi-extinction level events or cataclysms, which necessitate a restarting of humanity from a subsequent root race. And I think we're well along the way to that outcome. Personally, I think nature only tolerates so much before it says, "Here comes a comet, let's see what you make of that." How about a supervolcanic eruption, a caldera going off in the middle of the land in which you live, and let's see what you make of that. You know, that's what nature eventually does because there's too many weeds choking the garden. And that's what humanity has become. And invariably, when the darkness of ignorance progresses to a level of total calcification, eventually nature says no more, this far and no further. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting there pretty fast.